Welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm Sal Interdonato. Our podcast is sponsored by Higher Echelon. Higher Echelon is your go-to trusted partner for organizational excellence. Higher Echelon is a world-class consulting firm that trains employees in sports psychology secrets. It's run by Dr. Joe Ross. Joe Ross was an Army fullback and an Army assistant football coach. And we thank Joe Ross and his company Higher Echelon for sponsoring this podcast. This is a special podcast today. We have Cole Christiansen joining us today. Cole, thanks a lot for taking the time out to be on the podcast.
Absolutely, Sal. Pleasure to be here.
It's great. Cole is one of 4 Army grads who are now in the NFL playing on active rosters. Cole, we've had guys, former NFL players, Josh McNary and Andrew King on the show before, and to have you on, absolute pleasure. And just talking to them about the journey. The journey might be a little different now for players at Army who now can go directly to the NFL if they get that opportunity. In the past, they couldn't. But I think the hard work is probably just the same as it was back then. Can you get into a little bit? We'll go into more about your first season with the Chargers in a little bit, but can you get into what it takes, like the hard work it took you to get to where you were at with the Chargers?
Sure. I would say the guys that went before me probably had to work harder than I did because they'd had to go to the Army first and then go play in the pros after that. So I really can't even imagine shifting from a football body to an Army body and then an Army body back to a football body as a 30-year-old man, depending on how long you're in the Army. So huge kudos to those guys. But regardless, I definitely had to work really hard. And once our senior season ended, I was pretty confident the NFL route was what I wanted to do. And everything I did between that last game of our senior year and the draft was really geared towards me getting on the team. And I trained for my pro day, didn't really get it because of COVID, but was able to film my 40 and my vertical and my bench and everything and send it out to teams. And I was, a big part of it is getting a good agent and having someone that can communicate on your behalf, especially while I was at West Point. I'm still taking 20 credit hours for my last semester. So, I'm very committed on graduating too. Don't get me wrong, I want to play in the league, but I've got to get my degree first. So I'm buried in school. Meanwhile, my peers who are playing at regular schools, they're done for the most part. Most of them are like fifth-year seniors, so they're done doing their academics. So they can focus completely on training and communicating with teams. So I got myself a good agent who spoke on my behalf while I was working and ended up working out.
Yeah, you had to go. You went and played an All-Star game out in California, right? Or no?
I did.
That might have been your first taste of California life, right? What was that All-Star game like, playing in that All-Star game, and how do you think it got your name out a little bit?
Yeah, it was the NFLPA Bowl, and we played in the Rose Bowl, which was awesome. It was the first time I've been to California, and without that game, I'd probably say I wouldn't have made it on any team because it's where I met my agent, was at that game, and there was also probably, I think, a scout from every NFL club there. So I got to show them what I could do in person, got to shake hands and present to them who I am as a person. And that was really huge for me. And like I said, I think if I hadn't gone to that, probably would have made it on a team.
Wow. If you have any comments or questions for Cole and I, please feel free to send them along. First off, we'd like to get started with how you ended up at West Point. And we were just talking off podcast about Coach Bateman recruiting you. Just walk us through how. I remember writing a story actually about what you were almost. Where you lived, where you grew up, was closer obviously to Navy than it was to West Point, right? I remember writing that story. Just talk to us a little bit about how you ended up at West Point first.
Yeah, so had a pretty standard path going to camps in high school, trying to just get scholarships. I knew from a very early age that I wanted to play college football, but I was actually pretty convinced that I wasn't going to be in the military for a large part of my childhood, and even all the way up until committing to West Point. I was on the fence about it, but I actually went to Old Dominion for a camp there. Coach Bateman just happened to be there, who was the old defensive coordinator, like you said, for Army. And he offered me on the spot, and I had heard of West Point. I didn't know exactly what it was. I knew the prestige that was behind it, but I didn't quite understand fully what the commitment was and how it worked. Researched it for days and days and days. I took 3 visits actually to West Point before I committed because I wanted to know exactly what I was getting myself into. Is it actually something is the Army a career I want to pursue? And after meeting the cadets that were there at the time, old grads that had gone before that were actively in the Army or retired, after meeting all those people and understanding really what they had done for this country and what they're going to do for this country, I knew I wanted to be a part of it. So I committed on my 3rd visit, and best decision I ever made. And it definitely will be. West Point will and for always is and will always will be the best thing that I ever did and best decision I ever made.
Yeah, so when you get there as a freshman, that's when the turnaround starts to happen, right? I mean, you had some. I think that your freshman year is the guys like King and Tim were seniors that year.
They were seniors my freshman year.
Were those good guys to kind of like follow their lead, so to speak? I mean, those were the captains of the football team. 2 defensive players were the captains of the football team that year.
Right.
That broke the Navy streak and had the 8-win season to get everything rolling. How much did you kind of look at them to model like your kind of start at West Point?
Oh, so much. I mean, I couldn't have had 2 better role models. The fact they were both captains in the same position room, they were best friends. Like they were exactly what I wanted to be as a linebacker, and I wanted that within my room too. I wanted us to have I wanted to recreate them as much as I possibly could. And they were just a wealth of knowledge, and they were always positive, and they always wanted younger guys to do well. And they showed us the example. They said this is exactly how it's supposed to be. They beat Navy. They showed Army football collectively as a community what winning looks like. It had been so long since we had a winning season. And I really credit those 2 guys with being a big part of turning that around. And they were great leaders for that team. They're still great leaders in the Army. I communicate with Andrew. I haven't talked to Jeremy in a long time, but nonetheless, he was still a fantastic leader at Army, and really thankful that they were there before I got there.
Yeah, we had Andrew King on the podcast recently. He's going to law school now, and he's going to be a JAG down the road. And I mean, you could probably see that at West Point that was something that he would want to do just because of the leader that he was, no doubt, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
really proud of that.
Yeah. So your sophomore year, what was your reaction when you earned a starting job your sophomore year? At linebacker. I mean, Army's had a pretty good group of linebackers since Jeff Munkins got there in sophomore year. You're picked as one of the 2 starters on the inside. What was your how did that unfold, and what was your reaction to that?
I was ecstatic. I was kind of shocked. The day they told me that I was starting, I think was 2 days before the Fordham game my sophomore year. So we went through camp. I thought I had a pretty good camp. Obviously, my goal was to be starting, as anyone is, no matter where you are, a freshman to senior. But I think I was anticipating it taking a little longer to actually get a starting role. And then, like I said, 2 days before that first game, Coach Corliss, the linebacker coach at the time, said that I was up. And I went up in my throat, and I got a little nervous. But it was an awesome first game, and really glad I got to get a starting job that early because I was able to develop and learn so much at a young age.
Yeah, and you're coming straight from high school. You didn't take the Army prep route, so you're basically your second year out of high school. You're a big time starter on a big time Division I football team, and then I guess that 1 year really helps you get build that kind of bond with your teammates to where you could be named captain your junior year, right? I mean, that's rare. Jeremy Timpf was a 2-year captain. Steve Anderson was a 2-year captain. Those are 2 names right off the bat that I can think of. Both linebackers, of course. Just what was your kind of your reaction to that when your teammates named you captain your junior year?
Yeah, well, huge honor, biggest honor I could have ever gotten at West Point, more so than even getting a leadership position as a cadet down in the Corps. Getting named a captain on the football team was the coolest thing that could have ever happened. It's something I really desired and hoped that might happen my senior year if I was lucky, but it wasn't something I was, really, really actively pursuing as a junior or as a rising junior. But like you said, if I hadn't gotten that starting role my sophomore year, I don't think that would have ever happened. As a sophomore, I was a quiet leader. I really just tried to lead by example, and just really thankful for my teammates for recognizing me as a leader, as a young guy, and hopefully a guy that did things the right way. And I think that's largely what contributed to them voting me captain. But that was the the biggest honor I ever got when I was there, and was really thankful I got an opportunity to lead a group of leaders like we had on those teams.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk. We talk a lot of this podcast about the linebacking core, like I said, since Jeff Monken's been there, and even past. And you look at the duos. We talked about King and Tiff, and I think you and James Nautical are right up there with him. I mean, that was a great talk about that match that you two had because,
Oh man,
yeah, he was the guy who, I mean, he was a good blitzer. You were the guy that could do a lot of things too. You guys were a pretty good pair.
right. I loved playing with James, and you're right. He was a hammer. I mean, we called him hammer sticks, but he was a great blitzer, and he was just a madman on the field. And it was so awesome to play with someone like that because I trusted him more than anyone on the field. Like if there was a play that needed to be made, James was going to make the play. And I think we complemented each other well because he was that just loose cannon, fly through the gap, blow up Kyler Murray, whoever it was, just he was the hammer. And I'm more of a finesse guy, I think side to side. I covered a lot of space, and he was just the thumper. Don't get me wrong, he was super fast, and he was able to do a lot of things too. But I think that we complemented each other well in our two different play styles.
Yeah, if I were to ask, like even an Andrew King, about like you two, and I noticed that a lot when you're talking about like players that were in Coach Munkin's early years that were starters, the seniors, and now later, like yourself and some of the guys that are a little older now, that the talent gap from then to now, Coach Munkin's the staff has really stepped up recruiting wise, right? I mean, just the fact that you were able to earn um, being a starter as a sophomore. I mean, there was a lot of talented guys there. That I look at a Ryan Parker. A Ryan Parker was a very talented football player, but because of all the talent that was in the linebacking room, Ryan Parker had to find his maybe he was a special teams guy, and then his senior year he got on the field a little bit more. But Ryan Parker was there's a lot. Scott Washley, there's a lot of
Oh yeah,
talented guys there. I mean that just what was it must have been fun to compete every day out with a group like that, right?
it was. It really was because we did have a great group for a long time. And Ryan is a fantastic football player and one of my best friends. And I tell you, he took it so gracefully, having the role that he had. He loved being what he was, being the special teams assassin. Basically, he was the hardest hitting guy on our football team. A fantastic linebacker. It's unfortunate that I guess him and I were in the same class because he really would have had a really great career as a linebacker at West Point and did, but it probably could have done more if I wasn't there, and or even the older guys above us that were so good. But yeah, it was always a really great competition every camp. I mean, everyone knew that everyone had to bring it, or else you wouldn't get the job. And we always held each other accountable. We helped each other study, and that made our room really good because we were always pushing each other to be better. And it was never selfish. No one ever was trying to undercut anyone. Older guys helping younger guys accepting their roles no matter what it might be. And I think that was our entire team. It wasn't just a linebacker.
Yeah.
I think for all 4 years I was there, that was the case for every position.
Yeah, and now I look at the current linebacker starting linebackers in 2020, right? I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to watch games this year while you were in the NFL, but John
Did.
Radigan, right? John
Oh man.
Radigan.
Oh man. And he's one of my best buddies too. And I actually he was my recruit when he visited as a senior in high school, or maybe he was a junior at that point.
Okay.
And so we've had a relationship for a long time. And I was just jumping up and down every single Saturday watching him just tear it up because I know he's been waiting for a long time to have that job. And to watch him blossom like he did was so, so fun to watch. And we're actually talking right now because he's in his draft process trying to train for his pro day and get a spot on a team. So been trying to help him navigate those waters and try to give him information that I wish I had when I was doing it last year. But he'll be on a team in the NFL. I know he will. He's a fantastic football player, and he deserves every single bit of recognition he got this year.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, wait until your senior year to get a chance, and then to have the season that he did, and just to get to know him a little bit. I mean, he's a guy that really a character is right at the top of John. Yeah, he's a good football player, but the character is right there too, ready to take that next step too, no doubt, right?
He is for sure. He's going to do well.
Real quick, we want to still talk a little bit more about your Army time, and we're going to get to the NFL with the Chargers. Man, during your 4 years, sophomore and junior years, those are the two best Army football seasons that they've had in a while with the 10 and 11 wins. And you mentioned like Oklahoma and playing Oklahoma to the very end and having that goal line stand has to be, I mean, that has to be one of the memories that you'll never forget, right? I mean, I was going to ask you what some of your favorite memories, but there's so many, right, Cole? I mean, can you even put any into ranking? Probably hard to rank them because there's so many, right?
There are so many of them, and I don't know if I could rank them. I could definitely point out a few. Like you just said, the goal line stop at Oklahoma. I cried. I mean, it was the craziest thing I've ever happened to me in a football game because I'm not really that emotional mid-game. And the game wasn't even over yet, but we did that, and I had tears coming out of my eyes. I was like, it was just such a cool thing that happened. Beating Navy in the snow when that clock hit 0. Stopping Air Force on 4th down at home. That's up there. Yeah, the Temple comeback win. I mean, really, there's taking all the big teams to overtime. We took Michigan and Oklahoma to overtimes. Yeah, I wish we had won, but those are pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
there's definitely a few of the good ones in my memory.
It shows that you were right there with some of the best teams in the country, right? And a play here or a play there. Trying to think what about the Air Force shutout at Air Force?
Oh yeah.
I mean, we're coming up. We could probably make a list of more than double digits of these. I mean, what was that game like? Because that's something that never, that's something that happens like once a century, maybe when something like that happens. So
that was just such a statement win and one that we really, really wanted to have against that team in particular. And the fact that it was at Air Force when we did it was so, so special and something that we can hold over them for a long time. I actually ran into an Air Force lineman at that NFLPA bowl game a year and a half ago. And that was the only game we talked about was that shutout win at their house. So pretty cool that happened.
Yeah, and I mean the Commander-in-Chief trophies too, right? I mean to win back-to-back years, not something that happened at West Point, and to take those trips to the White House. I mean that's I can't imagine what's something like that like for a football player and an Army cadet. What's that like going to the White House and getting recognized like that?
It was unreal and just so cool to had the opportunity to do it. The fact that series of games, us versus Navy and Air Force, actually can provide one of those teams to go to the White House and meet the president and go to the Pentagon and talk to the vice president and everyone else. It is incredible. And without those trips, us being able to play in the NFL directly wouldn't happen because that really was the catalyst for President Trump changing the rules, us visiting at one time. But it was such a cool thing for our team to be able to accept the trophy on behalf of the West Point community and bring it home where it belongs. And be in the Rose Garden, being able to speak and hear the president speak and talk about us. Like the fact that the president was saying our names and congratulating us and shaking our hands, it was just really, really humbling. Really, really fun experiences.
No doubt, and you're absolutely right. When those two visits to the White House, that helped change the policy a little bit of allowing service, not just Army players, because in the past it was maybe depending on what school you went to had different. This was now for Army, Navy, and Air Force players to go directly to the pros, and you're seeing that. I mean, man, there's probably more service academy players in the NFL now than there's been in a while, just because of that policy, and everybody's getting a chance now. Now going into your if we can go over to the NFL side for you, just being able to get a chance, right? To get a chance to get into a camp, right? Is that all you really wanted? The chance to show, like, just the opportunity. You talked about how your agent was very helpful in getting you opportunities and stuff. But once you've always probably been a guy that once all you needed was a chance, right? Is that what you thought, pretty much, or talk to us a little bit about that?
It was, and all I needed was a chance. And I was confident myself that I could be successful, but any day that I was there was more than enough for me because none of that was guaranteed. I was and still am content in being an Army officer, and I will be once my NFL career is over, and I'm really excited for that. But just having the opportunity to be there on an NFL field, talking to some of the greatest to do it, like to be next to Joey Bosa, to be next to Keenan Allen, to be next to these guys and make friends with them and hear what they have to say about football and to teach me skills, it was unbelievable. And even if it meant that tomorrow I got fired, it was worth it because I got to spend a day with those guys and learn from them. And if I got fired, I was going back to an incredible job that I'd prepared 4 years to go do. So none of it was guaranteed, and I was okay with that. And I was just blessed and honored to even have the opportunity to do it. And I think that actually helped me be successful because I was taking it a day at a time. I was reveling in the experience as I was doing it. A lot of guys were thinking 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the road, like, all right, how's this going to shape my career? Should I not practice today because my ankle hurts to preserve myself for next season and stuff, But I was like, if I'm breathing and I'm here, I'm going to be playing on this field, and I think that worked in my favor. And just thankfully, good enough and got a chance to be on the team.
Yeah. Talk about preseason, because it's a different preseason a little bit with the COVID, right? And then being able to make the practice squad and like working what it takes to work your way up to the practice squad to get that chance to suit up during an NFL game.
It was a long road because, I signed to the practice squad as soon as camp ended, and I think I got activated. It was against the Jets. I don't remember what week it was. I want to say like week 7 or 8 maybe. But every single day until that point was another job interview. So you go to practice, and if you don't bring it, you're fired, and they're bringing someone else that can do it. And you're constantly trying to show, like, I deserve to be on the active roster playing. So that made it intense, but it also made it fun because I was competing every single day to earn my spot on the 53. And when I finally did get that chance against the Jets, it was everything that I thought it would be, and I was super excited to do it. But it did take a lot of hard work because there's so many guys out there competing for the same couple of spots. It does take an incredible amount of effort day in and day out, and it's a lot of guys. I think a lot of the rookies at least struggled with the sheer duration of the season, with it being so much longer than a college football season. Like, staying motivated every single day was challenging, but I think seeing the turnover rate in the locker room every day, or maybe every Tuesday when they start re-signing and cutting guys, I think that definitely put a pep in some guys' step that might not have had motivation.
I mean, that's got to be, your dream is probably to play in the NFL, right? And then when you get there and then you realize the hard work it takes to stay on a roster, I mean, it's got to be very, very fulfilling to do
Absolutely.
that, right? I mean,
Absolutely. And I really actually wasn't a guy that had the dream of playing in the NFL my entire life. It really was, I wanted to play college football, and I understood how low of a chance there is to go from college to pros. I was going to do my best in college. If the pros presented itself as a realistic option, then yes, I would pursue it. But I wasn't a kid that grew up dreaming to be an NFL player. Very thankful that I am now. But yeah, it is extremely fulfilling because you go out there. I mean, it's not easy to run full speed down a field with the best in the world at their craft going against you and trying to outdo them in front of however many people are watching every game. So to do that and then have success doing it, it is very, very fulfilling.
did you notice the respect that the teammates had? Yeah, they had a lot of respect for you about your work ethic too, but about the sense that you were coming from Army, and when this is over, you will be, going into the military. Did you notice the respect pretty early with that, or?
Yes, sir, I did. I think a lot of it probably came from them not really knowing exactly what I was doing. They didn't really understand that I am still in the reserves and exactly what West Point is. A lot of guys know what it is, but many of them didn't quite understand what it was. But I was the Army guy, so that I guess there's a level of respect that comes with just being in the military in general. And I just try to impart some of the lessons I learned from West Point to those guys, and I think it really helped a lot of them, especially the rookies, because we're all going through something that's brand new, and we kind of get the short end of the stick in a lot of scenarios throughout the year. Just like when you're a freshman in college, you're doing the chores for the older guys. You're staying up late. You're doing all these different things. You're still trying to make the team. You're trying to stay on the team. So I made a lot of analogies and comparisons to my time at West Point while we were there. I think a lot of guys benefited from that.
What do you think you learned? What do you think you learned at West Point that might have helped you the most this first season with the Chargers?
I'd say dealing with adversity because we didn't have the season that we wanted, and even really to shrink that down, if you don't have a day that you want, like if you have a bad practice, it is very easy to get in your own head and ends up imploding. It ends up really turning bad for some guys that can't deal with the adversity of a bad day or a bad month or a bad season. So being able to stay cool under pressure and difficult times is something that I picked up at West Point, and it allowed me to cruise relatively smoothly through the season. And the ways that I dealt with adversity at West Point is how I told guys that were struggling with our adversities. I think they benefited from that. And also say just leading people and trying to create successful organizations. I mean, obviously as a rookie, my voice isn't quite as big as the $30 million guy that's been there for 10 years, but there is a right way and a wrong way to do it, to effectively communicate with people. There's a lot of different types of right ways. There's definitely ways that don't work as well. So I was able to have a voice as a rookie, which I was thankful for West Point for, one, empowering me to do that, because I am confident enough after going through my 4 years at West Point to speak in front of people, even ones that are older and often superior to me in whatever way. I think they really helped me to do that, and I'm thankful for West Point for teaching me how.
Yes. We had Kyle Mooney on last week, and he was talking about his first carries in the NFL. Does a first tackle in the NFL is that something that you'll remember for a while? And
Absolutely.
Is that something that you can describe to us, like what it was like and the feeling of that?
Sure. Yeah. I remember it vividly. So I only played special teams this year. I actually didn't get any linebacker reps. Hopefully next year we can get linebacker reps. But we were playing the Patriots. I was on punt and just running down the field. And things in the NFL are so fast. I mean, everyone in the NFL is the fastest guy you ever played in college. There might be one or two guys on a college field that can move as quick as these guys can, but everyone there can move that fast. So you're screaming down the field, and I knew the guy was coming into my lane. I was just, please God, let me make this tackle. And sure enough, I did. An assist tackle, and then my first solo was actually our last game against the Chiefs on a kickoff. So it was two really exciting plays.
Yeah, against two really talented teams, no matter what, if it's offense, defense, or special teams. When you were at West Point your freshman year, did you get into some special teams, or did you have any experience playing special teams before you hit the NFL? Or
I did a little bit. I was probably a backup on those special teams the majority of my freshman year. I think I took maybe 10 or 12 reps total on special teams my freshman year. So actually, yeah, now that I think about it, it had been 3.5 years since I'd played any special teams when I got to the pros, because I really only played defense at Army. But it's like riding a bike. Came back pretty quick.
Nice. And now I see that you were doing. Now you were back home in Virginia, and you're running a camp for kids. Is that what you're doing? What are you up to now in the off season? I know you're probably still working out, getting ready for a second year here. But what are you up to now in the off season with that?
Yes, sir. So I'm living in Virginia Beach right now. That's where I'm from, and I really just work out and try to prepare myself for the upcoming season. But I'm also helping teach speed classes and positional skill stuff to younger kids at the facility that I'm training at. So I'll go work out for an hour, and then a couple times a week, kids will come in the evenings, and I'll do like an hour session or so, just working on speed skills and position stuff that I wish that I had known when I was their age. So fun, part of knowledge.
Yeah, to give back. I mean, that's gotta be mean a lot too, right? To give back to the youth in the area that you grew up into. That's gotta mean a lot too.
Yeah, it does mean a lot, and it's cool because I remember being that kid. I remember being the kid looking up and seeing someone that's playing at a higher level and thinking how awesome it is when they take the time to talk to me. I was a little kid, so it's really cool to go full circle and then look from the upper perspective down and showing them how much I care about them and trying to give them skills that will hopefully catapult them into the same success I've been fortunate enough to have.
Any autograph requests during those workouts or anything like that? Or
No, a lot of picture taking, but no autographs yet.
yeah, I bet you the selfies are more nowadays, right? The selfies are more
Yeah,
than the autographs right now.
yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, I was always like collecting the football cards, trying to get like the autograph cards in the packs, and now it's like nope, just take a selfie, and
Got a
that's
picture
it.
with him.
That's it. Hey, you know what I was thinking about too? We were talking about all the Army memories, right? And the Hawaii game pops up in my head. That last play of you knocking down the
Oh
pass
yeah,
in the end zone and celebrating. Like we said, I mean, we could probably have it. We could talk for hours about just those memories, but that was another time where what you brought back, I guess it might have started with the Andrew King class, and what you guys kept going was winning football at Mikey Stadium, right? That's a place that you love. You guys didn't lose in basically. You had a nice winning streak going there. Was this just a matter of pride and protect? Is that something that Coach Munkin installed in you guys, or?
it definitely was pride, but we just clicked really well. Those teams, some teams have it, and some don't. I mean, regrettably, our senior year wasn't as good as the ones before it, but those 2 years in the middle of my sophomore and junior year, man, there was a level of confidence the entire time. Like no matter what happened in a game, we could be down 3 touchdowns, and everyone in the locker room knew we were still going to win the game. And I really can't explain where it came from. I mean, we just had it. We loved each other, and not to say that the senior season team didn't love each other or that we weren't confident, but it was just something special about those 2 years, especially in Mikey Stadium, where we just knew that any team that comes in there is going to lose against us.
Yeah, and the way you were able to finish that 11-win season, right? It's got to be. We didn't even bring it up too much, but that Houston game, 70-14. That was just. And your buddy Nautical flying all over the place. You made
Oh
the
my
play.
gosh.
It's just crazy.
That was the most incredible defensive performance I've ever seen by a human being. James Nautical against Houston was the coolest thing I've ever witnessed on a football field. It was insane.
It's got to be. Like you said, to be involved with a team and its success like that. Wow. Well, you have the confidence that no matter what, you guys are going to find a way. And if you look at those seasons where those games are, I mean, like we talked about, the Oklahoma games right there for you guys. There was certainly a lot more winning going on then, and
Yep.
it's got to be something. Now
And I'll tell you, it's just fun. It was the most fun I've ever had playing football was during those seasons, just because winning is very fun to do, and everyone's just smiling all the time. Practices are electric because we're on a high note. We're on a high winning streak. We're just having a fun time being together and playing ball together, and that breeds more success. Like we found that the happier we were and the more fun we were having by winning created more winning. So,
yeah,
it's a good time to play.
I'm thinking about the guys you got to play with the year before your sophomore year. You're talking about the Alkermans and the Voights, right?
Oh yeah.
Wow. Those two you could put like an all-time Army defense almost together with the talent that you guys had, man.
Oh man, best to do it. They really were. All those guys. Yeah, I often forget about how many studs we had on those teams. Just everywhere you looked was the best that has played that position at Army in a long time.
Brinson, right?
And he just disrupting the whole world in the backfield. My gosh, we had the guys, and it was so fun to play with them, and it was crazy because I was the young guy, like me and Elijah and Jalen. Like our sophomore year, it was really. I hope I'm not leaving someone out, but it was pretty wild being the young guy with elite players like them around us. But I think if you asked Eli or Jalen, they would both agree that we learned so much for the guys around us and the confidence that they played with. And if we messed up, they were the first ones to grab us by the chin and say, "Hey, man, it happens to everybody. Like, get back on the field. We're going to win this game no matter what happens." So they really created a lot of our individual success because they put so much confidence in us.
Ryan England's another guy.
Ryan England. Oh, my gosh. Can't forget about Ryan England. That guy would make me run through a brick wall today. That guy was awesome having him behind us, just constantly just talking and probably the most swag of any player I've ever played with.
They even always called him like another coach on the field, no doubt. And man, those 2 years, and I think about the play, and maybe we saw something similar this year with Cedric Cunningham running down the Navy quarterback at the end.
Oh
But
yeah.
when John Voight gets maybe a fingertip on the shoestring of Malcolm Perry to stop that
Oh yeah.
touchdown in the snow game, it doesn't get any better than that. And then you
Oh,
guys hold them. It doesn't get any better than that, right?
it doesn't. It doesn't. I swear he just pushed wind against his cleat. I don't even know if he touched him, but the amount of effort he put into that play, I don't know if I've ever seen someone go as hard for his brothers as he did on that play or that whole game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you look at it, yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's very emotional too when you're playing, especially the service academy games when it's coming down to that last kick, right? And I mean, you're on the field during that last kick, right? Or no?
I was. And the wildest thing about that kick is that I knew that it had missed as soon as it came off his foot. Like when you watch the tape, it's really hard to tell until it basically gets to the upright.
Mm-hmm.
But if you watch me, I'm jumping up and down almost as soon as he makes contact. I don't know how I saw it so good, but yeah, that was an incredible win. And the coolest part was I think John Voight and that class, that was their senior year. So to watch them play as hard as they did and get the win over Navy, it was really incredible. Just them crying and being so happy to do that in their senior year.
And the commander-in-chiefs for the first time, right? Because that's the first time the commander-in-chiefs have been in the Army for a while. So, I mean, that was wow. I mean, man, we could talk about that stuff forever. Is there anything else about your NFL experience in that first year that you'd like to share? Anything that comes to mind when you think about like just that first season for you so far?
No, I'm just really thankful I had the opportunity to do it, and it really has been a lot of fun. I will say, it's actually. I told you that it's a little more. I mean, it's stressful every single day because you're working really hard to maintain your spot, but it's also a little bit more relaxed, I'd say, than playing college football, just because it's everyone's job, and if you don't do well, you'll get fired, and so they'll replace you with someone else. But for some reason, that kind of makes everyone. It's actually more of an easygoing environment in practice, and just throughout the year, you're just kind of vibing out with your buddies and playing music the whole time. So it was really fun, especially being in Southern California, and the weather is beautiful all the time, and just being able to say that you're an NFL player is a pretty cool thing to do. But I had a lot of fun. I'm excited to go back out there.
No doubt, and I guess there's been a head coaching change with the Chargers, so it's almost like another. Do you feel like it's another? Do you have to prove yourself again with a new coaching staff coming up and when preseason starts up and the workouts start
Absolutely. Up? Yeah, it'll almost be like another rookie year again, having to show the new staff what I'm all about, and hopefully it'll be have the same success I had last year, ideally, but it's okay. I mean, I experienced my rookie year. I know how the NFL works now. Excited to meet the new staff. I've only heard good things about everyone. Just looking forward to getting back out there and shaking hands.
There you go. No doubt. Cole, we really appreciate your time today. Great to hear, what's going on in the NFL with you and all those great stories of Army football that we'll never forget that you brought to the Black Knight Nation and Army fans, all those great memories. Really appreciate you having you on and all the best to you in your second season in the NFL.
Yes, sir. Sal, great to talk to you. Thank you for having me. Hopefully I get to see you soon.